界交替的意外，像彼此的阻碍，控制对你的依赖。琥珀树木的掩盖，把欢呼声承载，打造最好的状态。风吹过的颜色，散发到瞳孔，谁听懂？谁歌咏？对你的偏执，剩下孤勇，希望中的火种。你逆着光而来，你沉浸在花海，你留下我站在海中央。你逆着光而来，你打开了雾霭，你这次选择站在原地徘徊。轮流运动的时代，重生后的崩坏，守候最后的忍耐。雨滴落的天空，迸发出汹涌，谁听懂？谁接中？对你的期望，千疮百孔，是一剑锋未落。你逆着光而来，你沉浸在花海，你留下我站在海中央。你逆着光而来，你打开了雾霭，你这次选择站在原地徘徊。剪接出的画面，模糊的视线。你逆着光而来，你沉浸在花海，你留下我站在海中央。你逆着光而来，你打开了雾霭，你这次选择站在原地徘徊。
Good morning, everyone. I hope this video finds you well. In this video today, there's a mixture of events going on, and I want to briefly discuss one of them. And this happens to be the capture of yet another general in Mariupol, in the steel plant complex. Both generals so far are generals, very high-ranking officers. The first was an American officer assigned to NATO, and this one is a Canadian officer who was promoted right after he was retired. This Canadian general is extremely high placed and was in charge of the bioweapons globally. Bioweapons that are supposedly not in existence, but has 300 plus labs throughout the world. Bioweapons that both Russia and China have both accused the United States of using. Bioweapons that China has blamed the United States upon for all the attempts at livestock decimation. And the delivery systems, the American modified drones that sprayed the swine flu to decimate the pork industry and the swine industry within China. These are all been blamed on American bioweapon programs. Bioweapon programs, by the way, that is illegal under the United Nations. Now, you can say that America would never do that, in which case I can switch to talking about how the Easter Bunny will make you a billionaire. You have to see things as they actually are, no matter how distasteful they are. No matter how much you don't want to recognize the facts. And this guy, this general, major intel. I'm sure that he's spilling the beans, which is American idiom, means telling everything that he knows. The rule of thumb when I was in the Navy was, once you're captured, you hold out for 24 hours before you can tell them anything they want. That gives time for you, the rest of your unit and the operations to be secured, so not to be affected by your capture. And there is no doubt in my mind that he's spilling the beans completely. Actually, his life is over right now. They don't have to torture him, he just tells them. Just tells them. So yeah, he's captured, and he's telling them pretty much everything. While Russia has all sorts of data and documents from all the captured, secured bioweapons labs, and evidence throughout what was going on globally, not just in China, but in smaller nations or whatever, for testing of these pathogens. This guy's got a lot of stuff to say, and it's totally damning. My guess is if I were a part of the Department of Defense and a neocon, I would be freaking out of his capture. But obviously we know that the neocons have been freaking out because they knew that major military assets on covert bioweapons were locked down and surrounded in Mariupol. And they knew it. And now the rest of us are finding out. What surprises will this have is quite unknown. But I can tell you that it's going to be damning. And of course, no matter what he says, diehard believers will deny that it existed. And the American spin, American media will not report on it, or if they do report on it, they will report on it as being a trivial event. You can well expect that right now there is an army and legion of people trying to figure out the best way to spin this information that he has been captured and secured. I would imagine that there will be a discussion about how globally these weapons have been studied and produced and then used on local populations and why, and as well as the type of weapon systems that they have been You will also probably find verification as to who was planning these things and everything. It's going to be a Pandora's box of some very, very bad things. And of course, again, I'm going to repeat again, it's not going to be reported at all in the United States, though the rest of the world is going to be quite aware of it. I would be very surprised if there was going to be any kind of significant reporting. But if there were, it's going to be with the things as alleged bioweapons, suspected whatever, unproven statements. This kind of stuff. These adjectives are going to be thrown in liberally throughout any Western documentation reporting on this capture and what's going on. But right now, you can rest assured that Russian and Chinese experts are poring over the information discharge. And there will be a eventual trial, sort of like what happened over for World War II. But in the meantime, yeah, this guy here, he's just going to be dead man walking. He's just going to be waiting. And he's, you're going to learn everything from him until there's nothing left. They have ways. They'll know everything. Don't have to pull out his thumbnails or fingernails or anything like that to get this information. That's big news, guys. That's really, really big news. Really, really, really big news. And unfortunately, most Americans and most people in the West will not be aware of it. Something else will come up. It's kind of funny, you know. Both subjects talk about today happen to do with news and the propagation of news. It seems to be the dominant theme in the West, in America, that you control the news and you control people's thoughts, and that makes everything fine and dandy for whatever onslaughts and actions they take over. No wonder they're so damn cocky in Washington, D.C. All this, you know, this assault in Ukraine, where crossing red lines, and assaults in Taiwan, crossing red line, and all this kind of stuff. Russia and China has been extraordinarily patient. You gotta hand it to them. Been extraordinarily patient. If it was me, I'd glass over the entire United States and say, well, we'll see what happens. You know. Good thing I'm not in charge, huh? What I do hope you guys do is recognize, and I repeated this again, about the importance, the absolute critical importance of controlling your reality as you move through this time of contention. That's always the important thing, is to be part of a community, contribute to that community. Don't be the lone wolf. Don't be isolated. American Western culture is always about isolating you in little cubicles, isolating you in cars, isolating you in your home, isolating you by social media. Stop. Be part of community. Go forth. Communicate. Hang out at the barber shop, okay? Chat. Go to a diner, get a cup of coffee, and strike up conversation with people there. Start being more social in your life. And get some treats for some neighborhood dogs and cats. Build a birdhouse. Start a garden. Learn canning. Ride a bicycle. Get some fresh air. Oxygenation. Breathing deep. Not only helps in lucid dreaming and in weightlifting, but will help you get healthy. all the stressors and all these kinds of things going in our bodies, the plastics and all this. And now we have new kinds of chemicals, the mRNAs and all that. You need oxygenation. Oxygenate your body. Help you out a whole bunch. Keep the good stuff that's been changed in your body. Make it healthy and keep it vibrant. Don't let it dry out a little bit, if you know what I'm talking about. Oxygenate, oxygenate, oxygenate. Always a good thing. And what's wrong? There's nothing wrong with having, a couple bags of rice in your house and some food stocks. Sure as hell beats having to go to the grocery store couple times a week to pick things up on needed basis. Just stock up so you only make one trip once a month or so. Stock up a good larder, right? Always a good thing to do. When I was in middle school, I started really getting involved in gardening. I could grow zucchinis. Oh my God. I was a zucchini master. That and tomatoes. Love tomatoes. We had these things called big boy tomatoes, and they would grow huge and juicy. Now you can get heirloom tomatoes. And then they had bigger boys that I used to do too. Oh, there was nothing better than slicing those suckers right off the vine, hot and plump. You have to take them off very softly because they break. The skin is so thin. And then what I would do is I would cut them a thick slice and put them on just plain white bread, a little salt. I like to use this Miracle Whip, which is a mayonnaise with sugar. Slather that on, and I would eat it. I would eat it over the kitchen sink. But man, those are memories. Those are memories. You too can do that. Just go over to the local plant nursery and get yourself, right now, this time of year, get yourself some tomato plants. Even if you're in an apartment, just get yourself some tomato plants in a little planter and have them growing on your porch. You do got a porch, right? If you don't have a porch, put them in your kitchen. Just have these little tomato plants in there. It's good stuff, guys. One of those little treats, Peppers grow good too. But I was never a big fan of growing peppers. They're kind of meh. You have a tendency to say, I don't want to grow anything because, it's so cheap to get carrots and stuff at the grocery store. And to an extent, that's true. But it's really nice to have a garden that you get fresh produce. You just go in the backyard and get it fresh. Wow, that's wonderful. Just wonderful stuff.
这时间倒数，一切变得重复，剧情甜中带涩，你到底想没想过，还随便说说。骑着单车，感觉难以言说，坐在我的后座，浪漫不过就是永不散场。寻寻觅觅，遇见一个你，一见难忘，可能你都不信，把我照亮，笑得那么甜蜜。 无法抵挡，喜欢你变习惯。寻寻觅觅，遇见一个你，总能让我变得如此着迷。从你身后捂住你的眼睛，月亮弯弯是你的嘴型。这时间倒数，一切变得重复，剧情甜中带涩。你到底想没想过，还随便说说。骑着单车，感觉难以言说，坐在我的后座。 浪漫不过就是永不散场，汹涌的人潮躲过了喧嚣，发出了讯号，一起散步在天涯海角。从前有颗暗淡的星星，因为你的出现变得更美丽。我们的爱就像没有保质期，遇见一个你。 时间倒数，一切变得重复，剧情甜中带涩，你到底想没想过？还随便说说。骑着单车，感觉难以言说，坐在我的后座，浪漫不过就是永不散场。
So yeah, even though, I'm talking about this guy in bioweapons, I'm also talking about what you can do about eating fresh and getting oxidation. You see, bioweapons are not like a single bullet. You don't shoot it, you don't aim it to a target and you shoot it and harm that target. Bioweapons are indiscriminate. And while there has obviously been an effort to make them targeted certain races and certain genetic profiles, such as Asians or Africans or Ukrainians, Russians, they're pretty indiscriminate, and they have a tendency to mutate, and mutations can make them less worse or more worse. There's been a lot of speculation that there wasn't really any viral pandemics until the United States started creating them back during World War I, and that the flu was a pandemic intentionally created to suppress Germany. It sounds like the realm of science fiction, doesn't it? But knowing what I know of the United States and how they injected people with syphilis, injected people with radiation, and did all kinds of stuff, I have no doubt in my mind that these pandemics that we're seeing aren't really pandemics at all. They're just bioweapons cycling back as they dissipate through the globe. And now it may very well be that the world will have to live with coronavirus as we live with the seasonal flu. And the seasonal flu, as you know, every year there is new strains, and with coronavirus we'll have every year with new strains. Perhaps the best thing you can do in this environment is to get your body more attuned to nature. Get your food intake more attuned to nature. Control your thoughts, center your consciousness, monitor your dreams, and if you have the ability, try to maintain lucid dreaming. I will tell you that DM on the website has some outstanding things on lucid dreaming. And I gotta tell you, it's over my head because I have only occasionally lucid dreamed and only occasionally did out of the body travel, astral travel. It's only occasional for me. And the sensory inputs and the changes have always been disconcerting and wild and difficult for me to discuss. But he does a real nice job on it. And if you've tried lucid dreaming or have these weird events that you've seen or visions or whatever, you got to read what he has to say, because he puts things together in understandable ways that many of the readers to the website say that it makes sense to them. He offers a viewpoint that I'm not so good at. I don't have that ability. Just like Piss Lizard, PL, has another point of view from another aspect, and it's different than mine, but I like to think it complements. It complements what we have, and kind of listen to what everybody's trying to say and put it together. And for me, I'm more physical. I'm talking about riding a bike, learning how to fish, making your own delicious foods at home, enjoying the moment when you're cooking. It's hassle if you don't enjoy cooking, or if you make a big meal for yourself, or you make it for a bunch of kids and they gobble it, or you make it for your kids and you say, I don't want that, after you spent 4 hours cooking it, okay? Which I imagine was why a lot of women back in the 60s, mothers back in the 60s, would make cakes, you know, always have something that the kids would like. These things, these aspects of life, I like to believe, do more than just simply increase the quality of your life. I like to believe that they substantially work towards building walls against some of these bad elements, whether they're viral pathogens or disturbing social media rants, to GMO-laden food and toxicity that seems to be floating around the modern environment. General prudence, I think, is the order of the day. And while I have placed, some tunes of Rory Gallagher or some of the other rock stars and guitarists of my generation, it doesn't mean that jazz or blues or soul or country and western isn't in your interest. And listen to music that appeals to you, puts you in a good mood, takes you to places. Eat well, drink well, travel out more, be with people. All these things are really good. And I think they're a primary defense against what is obviously a group of evil psychopaths that's worse than any villain on 007 or any villain that you ever see in Hollywood. These people are just in another realm altogether. And that's my arguments here. So this capture of this general, he's the second general. Obviously, they have also ascertained and captured numerous other workers. And you can well know that they're getting dossiers of all the people in these areas. And they're killing Nazis. Find a Nazi, they kill a Nazi. Find a mercenary, they kill a mercenary. High-ranking mercenaries, they hold them for extraction. And that's called war, and that's what you have to expect. It's called war. I don't think the West has any idea what it's like to deal with an aggressive, peer-capable military. And Russia has pretty much destroyed the Ukrainian military and has secured the areas that need to be secured. If you're thinking that Kiev is still, or that Ukraine is still an independent nation, you guys are delusional. Flag waving time's over. I saw a video here with Nancy Pelosi and some other idiots from Congress are over there telling them that they're going to fight until Russia is destroyed. I don't think these people know geography. don't know history and are just idiots. It's not going to happen. And that, people, is what's going on with the capture of these generals. And while it may not seem to be that important to you right now, I think you will find out that the implications of what they have to say will be very important, which is why I'm telling you, stick with the basics. When in doubt, always stick with the basics. What are the basics? Well, guys, part of a community, do your best. And at that, guys, I want to end up with my basic words of advice. Be good. Smile. Make a difference in the world that you live in. Be good to dogs, cats. Be helpful. Be the Rufus. Participate. Don't be a spectator. And when the situation calls, take action. And at that, guys, remember,